You're tuned in to Sinister Shadows, where forgotten broadcasts resurface, strange signals bleed through the static, and the stories don't always stay fiction. If you found this channel, it's not by accident. Something brought you here. So settle in, stay quiet, and listen closely. What you're about to hear might sound like a story, but some shadows speak the truth. Most people clean up messes made by pets or kids. I clean up after monsters. Not like cute, misunderstood monsters either. Not your I lost my tail in a doorway type. No, I'm talking the ones with too many teeth, impossible shadows, and claws that scrape words you can't pronounce into drywall. The kind that leave stains behind that scream when you mop them up. I work for Night Sweep Environmental Services, which sounds like we clean up chemical spills, but it's really just a corporate way of saying, we clean up after monsters. No questions, no witnesses, no refunds. It's on the back of the van in big red letters. We keep the no refunds part big on purpose, cuts down on complaints. My boss Leonard says it like this: your job ain't to solve mysteries. Your job is to make the mess disappear before the sun comes up. And I'm good at my job. Probably because I don't ask questions. Not anymore. Tonight's call, warehouse job, Leonard grunted over the phone as I stirred my coffee with a trembling hand. Address is on your phone. Bring the heavy kit. Heavy kit meant bring the silver-lined mop, the acid solvent, the extra duct tape, and the vacuum that screams when it's full. I drove the van through a part of town where even the shadows look nervous. Rows of dead factories, windows like broken teeth. My GPS told me the warehouse was on Pier 9. The air smelled like rust and old fish bones. When I stepped inside, the smell got worse. Think rotting meat and burnt hair, blended into something sweet like cough syrup left in a hot car. My boots stuck to the floor before I'd even turned on my flashlight. Blood, but not human blood. Too dark, too thick. It splattered the walls in big looping arcs like something had been thrown, or something had thrown someone else. Yup, I muttered. Classic Tuesday. The scene. First thing you learn in this line of work: don't look too hard at what's in front of you. Stare at it too long and it'll start moving. Or it'll look back. Either way, it ruins your night. So I kept my eyes half focused and got to work. Laid down the salt lines. Set up the lamps with the UV filters. Plugged in the vacuum. It howled like a kicked dog, but that meant it was working. I swept up teeth. Some weren't human. Some weren't even shaped right. I pulled something out of the wall that might have once been a man's arm, except it had too many joints and ended in a hooked claw. Bagged it. Tagged it. Pretended I didn't hear it twitch in the plastic. Then I saw the writing. Not words. Symbols burned into the concrete floor in loops and spirals. Fresh. Still smoking. Damn it, I said to no one. Summoning accident. Again. You'd think people would stop doing blood rituals in warehouses. You'd think wrong. I was halfway through, bleaching the main blood pool, when something moved behind the stacks of pallets. Slow, wet sounds like something crawling across raw steak. Not my problem, I reminded myself aloud. Clean the mess. Leave the scene. Don't engage. I'm not paid to hunt monsters. I'm paid to erase evidence they were ever here. That's the deal. But the thing didn't seem to care about rules. It slithered into view. Imagine a human body someone stretched too long, like taffy pulled at the limbs. Face melted smooth except for a gaping mouth ringed in teeth like a sea lamprey. Skin raw, red, slick. It didn't have eyes, but I could feel it looking at me. Oh, hell no, I said, grabbing my mop. Not the cheap one, the silver-lined one. Expensive, yes, but reliable when something unnatural decides to get handsy. It hissed, moved closer. It smelled like wet copper pennies and hospitals. You make the mess, I told it, raising the mop like a bat. You help pay for the cleanup. I swung. The silver hissed against its skin like frying bacon. The thing screeched, recoiled, limbs bending wrong as it backed into the shadows, bleeding something too bright to be blood. I chased it, mop ready, smashing at it like a janitor with a vendetta. It finally crumpled behind an old forklift, steaming and leaking smoke. I doused it in acid solvent for good measure. It screamed once, long and sharp, then went still. "Clean the mess," I said again, breathing hard. "Leave the scene." Finishing up. It took me 3 more hours to mop up the aftermath. The silver fibers burned black, but the bloodstains faded. The clawed arms stopped twitching. The vacuum finally quieted down, fat and full. I double-bagged everything, marked it for hazardous disposal, sprayed the place with ammonia until it stank like a public pool. No one would know what happened here tomorrow except the rats, and rats don't file reports. By the time I got back to the van, dawn was cracking over the horizon. My coveralls were ruined again, melted through in spots. The mop, still holding together. Barely. I texted Leonard. "Job done. No witnesses, no refunds." He texted back. "Good. Got another one lined up for tomorrow. Bring extra gloves, this one's messy." I sighed. Another night, another nightmare to scrub away. But hey, it's just a job, and somebody's got to clean up after monsters. There's a funny thing about working cleanup for monsters. You stop being surprised. First week on the job, you scream at everything. Second week, you just mutter, "Not again," and start bleaching it. By your third month, you're scheduling dinner between mopping up blood that moves on its own and hauling out body parts that weren't part of the original lease agreement. That brings me to apartment 6B. Leonard texted me the address around 3 a.m. Small job. Apartment. Fridge issue. Bring gloves. Extra bleach. Van stocked. Fridge issue. That's code for organic matter. Unpleasant. Possibly alive. Could be a cursed head in a crisper drawer. Could be a portal to somewhere cold and screaming. Either way, it wasn't my place to ask questions. The building. I found the apartment building easy enough. 8 stories of peeling paint, buzzing hallway lights, and an elevator that smelled like old soup. Perfect. No one even blinked as I hauled my kit down the hall to 6B. In places like this, everyone minds their business. Survival instinct. The door to 6B stood open. Not broken in, just open. Like someone wanted me to walk right in. So I did. The apartment reeked of mildew, rot, and something colder. Like ice mixed with something dead. I made my way through the living room, noting the usual signs. Deep claw marks on the walls. Symbols drawn in salt on the carpet. Furniture stacked in weird shapes like a fort made by someone losing their mind. Classic bad tenant summons wrong thing vibes. I didn't see a body. Yet. The fridge. I found it in the kitchen. Standard apartment fridge. Old. Yellowed with age. Duct tape. Wrapped around the door about 50 times. Scraps of paper stuck beneath the layers. Covered in desperate handwriting. Do not open. Keep shut. Please. You'd think after everything I've seen, I'd know better. But the job said, fridge issue. So I sliced the tape. When I opened it, cold rolled out in a wave so thick it carried whispers with it. I don't mean like an old fridge hum. I mean actual whispers. Voices, pleading. Inside, there wasn't food. There was a hole. A black pit where the shelves should have been, rimmed in frost. No light. No depth. Just a void sucking in warmth, noise, and sanity. The longer I looked, the more it looked back. Something moved in there. Something big. I slammed the door shut, taped it closed again. Twice. Then I called Leonard. 6B's fridge is a portal, I said. Cold one. Something inside it. Yeah, Leonard said, not surprised. That's why you're there. Tenant's gone. We need it sealed. Sealed how? I'm not exactly an exorcist. You've got the cement foam in the van, right? Ah, right. The Forever Seal foam. Industrial stuff. Good for filling in holes. Even holes to places mankind wasn't meant to know. The thing inside. I was halfway through spraying the foam, watching it expand into writhing, hissing shapes as it fought against the cold, when the fridge banged. Something hit the door. Hard. The foam bubbled over the edges, fighting to hold the door shut as the thing inside pounded again. The whispers rose to screams. I couldn't understand the words, but I knew what they meant. Hungry, angry, trapped. The fridge rocked forward, tipping onto its front. The door cracked open just a sliver. I saw an eye. Huge. Pale. Set in something vast and wrong, staring at me through layers of ice and dark. My mop wasn't going to cut it this time. I grabbed the heavy sealant clamps, thick iron, old, marked with runes I don't understand, and bolted them over the door. The fridge hissed. The foam hissed. The thing inside hissed. I stood there, breathing hard, until the noises stopped, until the cold faded, until the fridge was just a fridge again. Ugly. Dead. Shut. The cleanup, I dragged the fridge, clamps and all, down the hall, into the service elevator, hauled it to the van, strapped it in next to the other refuse. Next stop, deep storage facility. Somewhere under Leonard's warehouse, there's a room full of sealed fridges, boxes, and bags like this. Locked away. Forgotten. Until someone needs them again. I left the apartment as I found it. Empty. Cold. Silent. No witnesses. No refunds. End of shift. Back at the warehouse, Leonard met me by the loading dock. Fridge issue handled? Yeah. It's taped, sealed, and bolted. Shouldn't bother anyone unless someone gets stupid. He nodded. Lit a cigarette. Tenant summoned it. Didn't pay the rent. Didn't pay us either. Shame. What happened to the tenant? Leonard shrugged. Fridge probably ate him. We shared a tired look. Another job done. Another nightmare boxed up and labeled. I loaded my mop back into the van. It still had frost on it. Still smelled like cold meat. I hate fridges, I said. Leonard grinned. Wait till you see tomorrow's job. Most of our jobs are small. Apartments, warehouses, the occasional greasy diner with something scuttling in the walk-in freezer. But sometimes Leonard sends me somewhere big, like a hotel. The Mercer Hotel was one of those places you drive by without noticing. Faded neon sign. Curtains always drawn. Vacancy sign always lit. The kind of place people use for affairs, drug deals, and things worse than either. It had been closed for years, officially. Unofficially, it had a reputation, one that kept it in business in a manner of speaking. Leonard gave me the job sheet. Mercer Hotel, 7th floor, entire floor. Bring containment bags. Bring the mop. Bring the bucket. The bucket was capitalized. That's how I knew this wasn't going to be a quick in and out. The lobby was empty except for a busted chandelier and peeling wallpaper that looked like it had been bleeding at one point. My boots crunched over broken glass. Something skittered under the reception desk. I didn't look too close. The elevator was dead, so I took the stairs. By the 7th floor, I was sweating through my coveralls, and not just from the climb. The air up there felt wrong, heavy, like trying to breathe through wet wool. Doors hung open along the hallway. Dark rooms yawned beyond, each smelling faintly of mildew, ash, and something older. I set down my kit and unfolded my checklist. Job description. Collect remains, cleanse surfaces, secure anomaly in room 714. That was all. No details. Leonard loves to keep things vague, says it keeps us flexible. I started at one end, working my way toward 714. Room after room, same story. Broken furniture, black stains on walls and ceilings, scratches on mirrors from the inside. In one room, I found a mattress nailed to the ceiling. In another, all the chairs pointed at the closet door, which had been locked from the inside. I bagged what I could, bones mostly. Not all human, some still wet, some still moving. I didn't ask questions. Into the containment bags they went. The mop hissed every time I used it. That's usually a good sign. The door was shut, of course. Scorched around the edges. Symbols carved into the wood in shaky, desperate hands. Words like keep out and don't open crossed out and rewritten over each other. I knocked. Habit, mostly. Something knocked back. Great, I muttered, unlatching the door. Inside, the air dropped 20 degrees. Frost rimmed the edges of the mirror. The lights flickered but didn't die. In the middle of the room sat a man. Or what had been a man. He was stitched together, literally, like someone had taken spare parts from a half-dozen corpses and built something resembling a person. His eyes were open, but unfocused. His mouth moved without sound. Strings of black drool stretched to the floor, pooling around bare feet. Taped to his chest was a sign. Property of Mercer Hotel. Do not remove. I sighed. Leonard's gonna love this one. I brought the bucket. Industrial strength, reinforced with runes and chains. It looks like a janitor's mop bucket, but trust me, it's a containment unit for things that don't fit in bags, things that scream when you turn your back. I rolled it toward him. The stitched man watched, his head lolled sideways. His mouth whispered something I couldn't hear. Sorry, pal, not my rules. I raised the mop. It hissed. The stitched man flinched like he recognized it. Good. That saves time. One swing. The mop hit his chest, and the air peeled sideways. The floor cracked. The lights popped. The man unraveled like thread yanked from rotten fabric, sucked down into the bucket in a whirl of shadow and teeth. The bucket groaned, sealed itself. Done. I burned the sheets, bleached the walls until the stains stopped bleeding, smashed the mirror, collected anything that didn't fight back and bagged it. When I stepped back into the hallway, the doors were all closed again. The air felt lighter. The light stayed steady. Another job done. Another nightmare cleaned up. I left through the stairwell. The lobby looked less broken on the way out. The neon sign even flickered, half-heartedly trying to say welcome. I didn't wave goodbye. I'm not sentimental. Leonard met me at the dock again, coffee in hand, cigarette dangling from his lip. 714 handled? Yeah. Stitch boys in the bucket. Floor's clean. Burned the sheets. Leonard nodded like I'd just told him the weather. Good. Mercer's been overdue for a sweep. You did good. What happens to the stuff in the bucket? He smiled. Not nicely. Same as everything else. Deep storage. Let the next generation deal with it. I didn't ask further. Like I said, no questions, no witnesses, no refunds. The longer you work this job, the more you realize two things. 1, monsters don't always look like monsters. 2, sometimes they hide in the walls. Leonard sent me the address around 2 a.m. office building, recently condemned. Security guard missing. Air vents making noises no HVAC system should make. The work order was short. Clear infestation. Bring VAC spear and standard kit. Watch the vents. Vacuum spear sounds cool. It's not. It's a glorified industrial vacuum with a sharpened end and suction power strong enough to rip teeth out of drywall. Necessary equipment when you're dealing with anything small, fast, and prone to nesting where it shouldn't. I rolled up in the van, coffee in hand, mop already hissing in anticipation. Bad sign. Mop doesn't hiss unless something's already loose. First floor looked fine. Second floor? Less so. The air stank of mildew and wet fur. Droppings I didn't recognize littered the halls. Black, oily, full of tiny bones. Walls bulged in places like something fat and slow had been crawling just beneath the surface. Every vent cover I passed had been peeled away. Bent metal, jagged edges, scrape marks leading inside like clawed hands had pulled themselves through. Lights flickered. I heard breathing. Not mine. I checked my equipment. Vac spear primed. Mop damp and ready. Containment bag zipped open. I don't get paid extra for courage. Just results. Room 214. Accounting office. Cubicles overturned. Chairs gnawed, paper scattered like snowfall. A ceiling tile sagged ominously. Then it dropped. A shape hit the floor in front of me, limbs bending the wrong way, skin slick and gray, like boiled chicken. Huge black eyes blinked independently of each other. A mouth opened where a throat should be, rows of teeth like a shark. It screamed, high-pitched, wet. I speared it through the center. The vac roared. The thing popped like a balloon full of spoiled milk and smoke. One down, more above. I heard them skittering in the vents. Third floor. The walls here pulsed, literally. Breathing, slow and heavy. Something big nested behind the drywall. Something that birthed smaller things like the one I just sucked into oblivion. I followed the sounds. Vent shafts above trembled as shapes crawled inside them. Too fast, too many limbs. Sometimes hands, sometimes claws, sometimes both on the same limb. Finally, I found the core. Conference room C. Table flipped, chairs chewed, vent cover hanging loose above the projector screen. From it, a mass of something had oozed halfway into the room. Flesh, piping, teeth embedded in muscle like pearls. An eye big as a dinner plate rolled lazily in my direction. I hate conference rooms. The vac spear wouldn't cut it. Too big, too rooted. This thing had grown into the building like rot. I grabbed the mop, silver-lined, runes etched into the handle. Certified for Class 4 infestations and up. First swing, sparks. The thing recoiled. Second swing. The eye burst like an overripe fruit. Fluid hissed where it hit the tiles. Third swing. I drove the mop into the core, twisting. The walls screamed, lights exploded. Ceiling panels rained down. The mass thrashed, pulling itself back into the vents, tearing the ducts wide as it fled. Blood, black, smoking, alive, spilled from the holes it left behind. I chased it floor by floor, swinging, burning, sealing with salt where I could. One by one, the smaller things fell, sucked into the vac spear or splattered under the mop. Rooftop access. I cornered the bulk of it there, half out of a rusted vent, half sprawled across the tar paper like some obscene birth gone wrong. It hissed at me, opened a mouth where no mouth should be. I don't do refunds, I told it. Then I hit it with everything I had. Mop, solvent, salt, even the spare holy water I keep duct taped to the bucket. The thing shriveled, collapsed, melted into sludge that hissed and smoked and finally stopped moving. Back through the building, sealed the vents with foam, sprayed the halls down with ammonia until it burned my throat, bagged what I could, marked the rest for demolition. When I hit the first floor again, the walls stopped breathing. Silence. Blessed, normal silence. Leonard's warehouse. 5 a.m. Leonard barely looked up when I rolled in with containment bags full of twitching meat and a mop trailing black ichor. Vents? Vents. You seal it? Permanent this time. He nodded. Good. Demolition crew goes in next week. They won't know what they're stepping over. He offered me a cigarette. I took it. I don't smoke, but after nights like this, you hold on to small comforts. Tomorrow? I asked. Leonard grinned. Tomorrow's worse. If there's one thing worse than cleaning up after monsters, it's cleaning up after monsters that think they're people. Leonard called it a delicate situation. Translation: messy, haunted, and probably not legal. He handed me the job sheet in person this time, like it was a secret. Whisper Pines Funeral Home. Basement level. Access after midnight. Discretion advised. Bring everything. Yes, even the mop. When Leonard says everything, you don't argue. I packed the van with enough cleaning supplies, solvents, and containment gear to wipe out a small apocalypse. Whisper Pines sat on the edge of town like it was waiting for someone to notice it rotting. Lights off, curtains drawn. Sign out front said, closed for renovations. But the fresh footprints in the snow said otherwise. I let myself in with the skeleton key Leonard gave me. It worked on more than just doors. Inside, it was colder than outside. Walls wept condensation. The smell wasn't bodies, not fresh ones anyway. It was old, sour, like something had died and then hung around to see what happened next. The elevator was dead, so I took the stairs. Again. I heard voices before I saw anything. Not loud, not angry. Just mumbling. The kind of sound a room full of people makes when they're waiting for something. Except there shouldn't have been anyone down here. The light flickered as I stepped through the double doors. Rows of occupied coffins lined the room. Some nailed shut, some chained, some just open. Faces peeking out. Eyes closed, hands folded. Except for one. A man in a funeral suit sat up in his casket, reading a newspaper like this was the world's worst waiting room. He looked at me. "Ignore us," he said, flipping a page. "We're not the mess." I nodded. "Good. Saves me time." He went back to reading. A polite corpse, at least. The walls pulsed. I don't mean figuratively. They pulsed. Beat like a heart. Slow. Thick. The floor tiles sweated blood. In the center of the room, where a drain should have been, there was a hole. Not dug. Not broken. A perfect circle of darkness that breathed in fog and exhaled rot. The mess. Always the mess. I set up the lamps, salted the perimeter, laid down runes from the emergency kit. The bucket hissed when I placed it near the hole. Good sign. Meant the worst of it was still contained. I fed the vac spear down first. It screamed. Something inside pulled back. Fought. I cranked the suction to max and dragged it out inch by inch. What came out wasn't solid. A shape made of shadow and teeth, dripping black tar and whispers. Faces swam inside it. Familiar strangers. Some of them my own. It didn't like the light. It hated the mop. One swing. The mop burned it like acid. 2 swings. The shadow screamed. The coffin shook. The polite corpse sighed and turned the page. 3 swings and a bucket full of solvent later, the thing collapsed. Melted. Slurped into the bucket with a noise like drowning words. Bleached the floor until the tiles stopped bleeding. Resealed the hole with foam, salt, and duct tape. Don't laugh. Duct tape saves lives in this business. The polite corpse gave me a thumbs up as I packed up. "Tell Leonard we'll stay quiet, as usual," he said. "Appreciate it," I said. He went back to reading obituaries. Back at the warehouse, Leonard waited by the dock again. Different coffee, same cigarette. Funeral home handled? "Basement's clear. Corpse said hi." Leonard chuckled. "Those guys pay their dues on time. Good clients. Weird but good." I loaded the bucket into storage. The mop went back on the rack, still hissing quietly. The warehouse lights flickered for a second. Normal around here. Leonard clapped me on the shoulder. "One more job. Big one. Tomorrow night. Bring your A-game." "What's the job?" I asked. He smiled, not kindly. "The company that hired us wants the mess cleaned at the source." "The source?" "Oh. Good." That sounded final. Leonard didn't say much on the drive. Just smoked. Watched the road like something out there might notice us watching it back. We weren't headed to a job site. We weren't headed out of town. We were going down, beneath the warehouse, deeper than the sub-basement. Deeper than the storage levels where we kept the fridges, buckets, bags, and boxes sealed with runes and iron clasps. Deeper than I knew we even had access to. There was a door. Heavy. Marked only with 3 slashes and a smear of something brown that probably wasn't paint. Leonard unlocked it with a key shaped like nothing on earth. The lock moaned when it turned. He didn't explain. He just handed me my kit. "Clean it, or we're out of business." The stairs spiraled down, concrete turning to rusted metal, turning to stone slick with condensation and something thicker. Lights buzzed overhead. Some flickered. Some didn't work at all. I counted my steps. Lost count around 100. At the bottom? A door like the one above. Bigger. Hungrier. Breathing slow and steady beneath its frame. I opened it. You ever walk into a room and feel like gravity's off by just enough to make your stomach twist? That's what this place was. No walls, no ceiling, just space. Black, endless, dotted with floating scraps of buildings, furniture, bones. Things blinked in the distance. Too many eyes, too many mouths. In the center floated the mess. A knot of everything we'd ever bagged, burned, mopped, or sealed. Teeth, flesh, light, shadow, screaming faces, things trying to escape their own shapes. All of it spinning slowly, sucking in bits of reality and spitting them back out wrong. "This is where it ends up," Leonard said from the doorway. "All of it. Eventually it piles up. Needs maintenance." I hefted the mop. It hissed approval. The bucket trembled on its wheels. The vac spear clicked. Hungry. Time to clean. First swing. The thing rippled. Faces turned. Hands reached. Mouths screamed words I wasn't meant to understand. Second swing. Light peeled away from shadow. Limbs uncoiled. Something big lunged at me, made of stitched skin and teeth from 300 jobs ago. I stabbed it through with the vac spear. It popped like overripe fruit. The mop burned a path through bone and bile. I salted the ground even though there wasn't one. The mop drank the screams. The bucket slurped up the remains. Over and over. Swing. Burn. Vacuum. Contain. The thing fought back. Voices from jobs I'd half forgotten clawed at my ears. "Help me. Save me. You shouldn't have come down here." I didn't stop. Couldn't stop. With every strike, the mess unraveled. Threads pulling loose from knots too old and tangled to hold. Faces faded. Screams dwindled. Light leaked out, turned to smoke. Then nothing. At the center of it all, something small. A mop bucket. Old. Red. Cracked. My initials scratched into the handle. I didn't remember bringing it down here. Didn't matter. I kicked it into the void. The void swallowed it whole. The light stabilized. Gravity settled. The floating debris crumbled into dust, then ash, then nothing. The doorway behind me stopped breathing. Leonard nodded. "Good work." "What was that?" I asked. He shrugged. "Call it waste management. Every mess leaves behind a stain. Every stain piles up. Someone's got to clean it eventually. And if we hadn't?" He smiled. "Then the stains start cleaning us." We climbed back up, locked the door behind us, welded it shut for good measure. Leonard poured coffee. I sat in the break room, coveralls dripping with things I couldn't name. "You sticking around?" he asked. I thought about it. About warehouses, fridges, vents, stitched men in hotel rooms. About monsters. About mops. About the bucket. Yeah, I was sticking around. No questions, no witnesses, no refunds. Someone's got to clean up after monsters. Might as well be me.